And that was probably the genius of Sardar Patel. There's no difficulty.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt about
it.
They came into the Indian Union as a volition. They joined voluntarily. I mean, we take it as voluntarily. It may have been a little bit of persuasion. It may have been whatever.
I'm just trying to show that there were many similarly situated princely states. They had also put their conditions, but eventually they subsumed themselves with the Union of India because of the recall that Jammu and Kashmir never signed instrument of merger. Many states did not sign instrument of merger.
The only difference was that this constitutional history led to the ultimate integration in every sense of the other states like Kathiawar, Saurashtra, Baroda. They didn't follow the 370 route because for J&K, the constitution decided to go to 370. The other states, there was no provision like 370. They merged and they were integrated completely. They accepted list 1, they accepted list 3, they accepted the ultimate dominion powers, executive and legislature of the Dominion of India.
I'm just showing this with a view to make one point, that a stand which is now being taken and which has been taken, that we had a special feature and therefore we were given a special treatment, and therefore this provision is kind of a privilege given to us which can never be taken away. But I'm just trying to show that there were many similarly situated princely states. They had also put their conditions, but eventually they subsumed themselves with the Union of India because of the Act of State Doctrine and because of Article 363 and Article 1. But
they came into the Indian Union as a volition. They joined voluntarily. I mean, we take it as voluntarily. It may have been a little bit of persuasion. It may have been whatever. Real politics. Yes, obviously, no difficulty. And that was probably the genius of Sardar Patel. There's no difficulty. There's no doubt about it. But the fact, however, remains that insofar as J&K is concerned, J&K bucked that trend. J&K went to the 370 route.
So, yes, but why, how, and till what time? Right. That will come, my lord, subsequent. Right. And that's why, my lord, for me, as I said, my lord, in the outset, connecting the dots would be necessary.
So the limited point which you are making at this stage is that the instruments of accession of various princely states contain certain reservations. Now we have seen in regard to taxation, in regard to land acquisition,
binding constitution,
not binding themselves to accepting a future constitution. So the IOAs at that point of these states were hedged with various conditions.
This is also,
but that was consistent with Section 6 of the Government of India Act, which was adopted by Section 9 of the Indian Independence Act. We gave this sop to the princely rulers that, look, you come here on your terms. We are not telling you today to come on our terms. You agree to the Indian Union, you make reservations, and we hope that by and by you will accept full integration into the Union, which they did.
Another point why I wish your lordships made aware of this development is, there was an argument that instrument of merger was a necessary attribute for a complete integration. Otherwise, we had kind of an internal sovereignty. Your lordships would recall that Jammu and Kashmir never signed instrument of merger. Many states did not sign instrument of merger. From the date on which Constitution of India came into force and Article 1 came into force as an act of the state, they became integral part of Union of India. And how Jammu and Kashmir got separated, my lord, and how it was only for a temporary period, but would succinctly come, my lord, in subsequent.
Interesting, Mr. Solicitor, this Department of States which existed in the Ministry of Home Affairs post 1950, after the 7th Amendment, right? 1956.
238 was, yes.
So the Department of States must have been abolished post 1956. You will be still having records in the Ministry of Home Affairs?
I'm sorry, my lord. My instructions are that officer sitting, my lord, was the additional secretary in charge of Jammu Kashmir in MHA. He said that department technically still continues.
So Department of State still continues.
Still continues.
Now, do we have, I'm not sure whether this exercise can be done just for, I mean, you don't have to do it by a very detailed document, by just a tabulation. If we can have a list of the states, and we can have, say, Kathiawar, instrument of accession, supplementary instrument of accession, and merger agreement. Which of the states came into the union with a merger agreement? Which of the states had no merger agreement at all and yet joined the union? I don't know whether that now at this point of time that record will be there. If you can try and record, if you can sort of.
Yes. To a large extent, white paper indicates what happened.
I don't know if you have that record. I mean, how many out of these 562 who actually joined the Union of India, actually executed merger agreements? What I meant was, how many of these states which joined the Union of India did not execute merger agreements? That will be a smaller group probably.
But possibly.
So, which will then perhaps give some support to your argument that the execution of a merger agreement was not quintessential to acceptance of ultimate sovereignty by India. And second, many princely states were subsumed with the Union of India even without a merger agreement. And various states, therefore, were subsumed in the Union of India only with an instrument of accession.
We'll do that exercise. Substantially, everything is there in the white paper. But if there is something else also, Manoj.
All 562 states, not India. What happened? No, there were small little principalities, small nawabs. They were larger.
We were just, in fact, Brother Suryakant was giving us a little bit of backdrop about Punjab and Himachal.
Integration with larger states, and then the larger one signed the instrument of merger.
Right, but we were wondering, was it possible? Because Mr. Sibal, what we want a little bit of this factual.
I've understood.
Factual clarity. That they may have worked there Indian states. We shouldn't call them princely states, because as Mr. Sibal says, some of the small Nawab, some the princes.
We will have to say princely states, because Indian state would mean those which
were
the sovereignty or suzerainty of
British
Indians. That's how it has.
They were the governor's provinces.
That's right.
No, but we just want to know this.
We will not undertake.
Again, to sort of repeat two things. Which were the states which accepted completely to be subsumed within the Union of India without merger agreements, and followed only the IOA course and straight came into the Union of India?
There is no such instance, with respect. The white paper which is part of the record. White paper issued by Sardar Patel.
I'll formulate it. I have understood the question. Let me not.
Mr. Shankar, I just thought since the Department of States exists even today, this is something. This will be. They might take a day or 2 days, but they will be able to do it.
It would be done.
Table here with the states which have not entered into a merger. Helping your point. Actually, if you want a list of states which have
What is the source? What is the source of your table?
It's from the white paper.
There are inaccuracies. I'll put it that way.
So there are states which did not accept the merger and yet became a part of the Indian Union.
State of Mysore, state of Saurashtra pre-independence, Madhya Bharat, Patiala and East Punjab.
This is
part from the white paper. There is a chart.
We will not. That's not deviate from it. I have not taken the point.
Your point is that there were other states, basically whether it was 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. There were other states which did not sign the merger agreement.
Yes, there was nothing special which is being claimed.
That's your point.
And second, that merger was such a sine qua non, without which you can never be an integral part of India, either under Article 1 or otherwise, or your special status must continue. But please do not.
So in other words, Mr. Solicitor, to sort of paraphrase your submission, it's twofold. First, the expression of reservations in the instrument of accession was not unique to the instrument of accession which was executed by Maharaja Hari Singh.
I couldn't put it that way.
To the execution of a merger agreement was not a sine qua non to be absorbed or become a part of the Indian Union. It's a two-fold
Union of India.
We got the point.
So please come to para 30, to page 32 bottom, my notes. Note 1. The assertion of the petitioners that all others signed the instrument of merger except state of Jammu and Kashmir is false. Several states signed revised instruments of accession, including therein different conditions, etc. I have seen. Neither this process of integration, unionization, linear in its legal application, nor assurances or negotiations remained sacrosanct while framing the Constitution of India and making of this great nation as Union of India.